Okay, let's jump right into this explainer and decode the wildly intricate lore of Chapter 125. Today, we're exploring the anatomy of an unseen war, one fought by a very quiet angelic entity known as the Sixth Watch. To really grasp the depth of this world building, we're going to look at the text through the exact lens it was written in, a survival manual from a senior watcher to a brand new recruit. So for the rest of this explainer, imagine I'm the senior watcher and you're the recruit learning the ropes. Together, we're going to study the duties, the distinct symbols, and the profound philosophy of heaven's most vigilant defenders against the demonic crowns of the 72. Here is our agenda. First, the hierarchy of quiet power. Second, ranks of the Sixth Watch. Third, kindling the four watchfires. Fourth, the night of false bells. And finally, the price of sleepless mercy. Section 1. The hierarchy of quiet power. Now, right off the bat, it's vital to understand that our order, the Watch, does not operate like the more aggressive, sword-wielding angelic forces you might be used to reading about. There's a really stark contrast here. The First Radiance? They're all about loud, blazing origin light. They arrive with thunder, 1,000 silver trumpets, the whole shebang. They are literally the dawn. But the Sixth Watch? We are the quiet, pale electrum eye. We don't announce ourselves, we just wait. If the First Radiance is the dawn itself, our job in the Sixth Watch is to make sure that dawn isn't stolen by a false morning. We are the warning bell that rings right before a righteous rule sours into tyranny. Think of the angelic hierarchy not as some corporate ladder where higher means stronger, but as a living architecture. It's like a giant celestial ecosystem where every order carries an irreplaceable duty. The Sixth Watch is positioned after the other dominions specifically to protect what they've already sacrificed to build. We listen for that subtle, invisible rot in the 11th hour, right before a kingdom falls. Because, let's face it, evil doesn't always march through the front gates with burning banners. Sometimes it seeps into a cup left untouched, or hides in a single dishonest sentence signed by an otherwise good judge. Section 2. Ranks of the Sixth Watch. So, recruit, you need to meet your commanding officer, Asteriel of the Dawn-Eyed Gate. Now, here's a fun fact. Asteriel wasn't always this mighty, unblinking captain. In the oldest records, Asteriel was originally just a keeper of small lights on the outer bridges of heaven, basically tasked with listening to the fragmented prayers of prisoners and terrified children. But Asteriel became our warden after discovering a massive, game-changing truth in the kingdom of Mirath. Demonic crowns don't hide on massive thrones. Nope, they hide in the everyday habit of looking away. Asteriel realized that citizens were losing the will to resist small evils, and that very realization birthed our entire order. To manage this, Asteriel oversees 3 highly specialized forces, each with their own unique tools. First, we've got the Lantern Scribes. They use these incredible scrolls of listening light to track the moral weather of a realm, recording tiny fractures like secret cruelties or broken promises. Next up, the Dream Sentinels. They guard the vulnerable gates of sleep, using bowls of still water. If a dream is just normal, everyday grief, they let it be. But if a demonic hook enters, like when King Orend was manipulated in his sleep to sacrifice a village, that water turns pitch dark, and the sentinel immediately intervenes. Finally, there are the listening wings. They perform what's called an audit of breath. They aren't reading minds. They literally feel the air strain and bend around a lie, sensing exactly when words and truth fall out of alignment. We actually saw these exact tools applied masterfully during the siege of the Quiet Orchard. Picture this: a demon-crowned general named Malphasian bypasses weapons entirely and decides to attack the monks with compliments. Yeah, compliments. He showered them with praise about their wisdom and mercy, trying to trick them into opening their gates out of pure pride, completely disguised as compassion.
but a listening wing felt the air, detected the empty sweetness, the total lack of actual love in his words, and brought this straight to Asteriel. A single warning was sent, reminding the monks not to confuse mercy with weakness, and boom, the gates stayed closed.
Section 3. Kindling the 4 watchfires. Now, how do we actually expose the enemy? The Watch uses a very strict 4-step procedure of revelation called watchfires. These sequentially burn away concealment without breaking the victim's mind. It starts small with an ember of unease, then escalates to a flame of pattern, a lantern of naming, and finally a beacon of division that literally severs the demonic thread. And honestly, we can apply this lore to our own modern daily stressors to improve our mental clarity. Think about doom scrolling. That ember of unease is that slight pit in your stomach when you know you've been on your phone too long. The flame of pattern is realizing this scrolling connects to a larger chain of anxiety. The lantern of naming is finally admitting, okay, this is escapism. And the beacon of division is making the active choice to put the device down and separate yourself from that negative loop. The watchfires work exactly like that, exposing the truth step by step. Because our power relies so heavily on exposure, we meticulously guard against 6 distinct narrative signals of demonic influence. You have to train yourself to spot traps like urgency without truth, where a demon demands immediate action before any wisdom can actually breathe, or wound without mercy, which uses someone's very real pain but forbids them from ever healing. But listen up, because the absolute most dangerous signal for us in the Watch is watchfulness without hope. This is where a guardian becomes so incredibly paranoid that they view everyone as an enemy, ultimately loving suspicion way more than truth. We can never, ever let our vigilance turn into pure paranoia. Section 4. The Night of False Spells. Okay, let's talk about the Watch's greatest historic test. The demonic 72 launched this massive, highly coordinated attack where they rang 72 false bells simultaneously across distant realms. And the twisted part? Each bell perfectly imitated a holy warning. One demanded war for purity, another demanded total silence for humility. They stopped appearing as monsters and instead used our own alarm system to intentionally scatter and exhaust the Watchers. Standing high on the parapet of the rim of sleepless mercy, Asteriel basically told everyone, ignore the volume. The sheer noise was a distraction. Instead, the entities had to listen to what the bells were actually demanding of the soul. By doing this, they uncovered the truth. 40 of those bells were driven purely by fear, 12 by ego and pride, and 9 by cruelty disguised as justice. Out of 72 blaring alarms, there was literally only one bell that was an actual, genuine threat. And where did that single true bell lead them? To a place called Haval. It was this totally forgotten, destitute village with a completely dry riverbed, completely ignored by kings and maps alike. There, a young boy named Sarin was just out searching for beetles when he stumbled upon an obsidian demonic crown. This specific crown was nasty. It fed purely on wounded fairness. It was preying on the very real fact that Sarin had to watch his own mother go thirsty, while corrupt merchants cheated their undefended village. The voice inside that crown fed Sarin a terrifyingly seductive logic. Because you were wronged, you may now become wrong. It didn't have to invent Sarin's pain. His suffering was absolutely real. Instead, it offered him a splinter of power, whispering that his genuine pain completely justified an act of cruel revenge against his neighbors. Now, Asteriel didn't just strike the boy down. Instead, Asteriel showed Sarin 2 possible futures. One of violent dominance that just ends in dust, and another of hard, honest confession that would lead to a stronger, unified village. Seeing the truth, Sarin made the incredible choice to drop the crown himself. Section 5. The Price of Sleepless Mercy. Here is a mind-blowing fact about our philosophy.
The sixth watch is actually at its absolute busiest right after a major triumph. Think about it. When the heroes win, when the city is saved, that is exactly when pride sets in. We work silently in the shadows to prevent righteous victors from slowly building brand new tyrannies out of their own trauma. For instance, after Queen Mareth defeated a terrible usurper, her advisors wanted to lock up the usurper's entire extended family forever. Asteriel literally sent a tiny watchfire into the wax of her royal seal to remind her of her own family's past flaws. She ended up choosing fair trials over blind vengeance, saving the righteous from becoming the exact thing they just defeated. But I won't lie to you, witnessing all this hidden corruption day in and day out takes a massive toll. A young sentinel named Muraviel once asked Asteriel the question we all think about. How do you endure seeing so many lies and betrayals without just completely burning out in hating the world? In response, Asteriel took Muraviel to a struggling, gritty city, walked right past the corrupt politicians and cheating merchants, and showed the sentinel a simple, quiet nursery where a sleeping child simply opened its hand. And Asteriel said, "We do not watch because corruption is everywhere. We watch because innocence is still somewhere." Man, that gives me chills every time. It leaves us with arguably the most powerful thought in this entire lore. It reminds us the true guardians stay awake across the ages, not because they are terrified of the dark, and certainly not out of paranoid fear. We stay awake because we are fueled by a relentless, steadfast love for what is good. Operating out of our spiritual fortress, the citadel of unclosed eyes, the entire angelic order relies on one final, absolutely crucial internal check. Up at the Tower of Dawn, Asteriel submits every single warning to the light of mercy, asking one simple question. Is this gate being guarded for love or for control? It ensures that our holy vigilance never morphs into a desire to dominate. We stand purely on the vow that no beloved world will ever be left unwatched. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought drawn straight from the heart of the Sixth Watch. Whether you are theoretically battling ancient demonic crowns, navigating the very real complexities of modern global conflicts, or just facing the exhausting daily stresses of your own life, when you look at the struggles in your world, will you choose to see the hidden shadows clearly while still having the incredible courage to continue loving it? Think on that. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.